Thank you, Mr. Chairman, and I want to thank the witnesses for being here. Um, Quite frankly, I'm very concerned that there is going to be a very harmful and detrimental impact on the United States of America, including and especially my district in Texas, in the 36th Congressional District. Mr. Yulee, the regulations associated with climate change will increase the cost of energy for American citizens, especially hardworking families already struggling to get by. I would like to ask you if you could describe how the increased energy costs will impact the macro economic health of the United States, both for primary energy users and also end-use consumers.
Well, thank you. NERA Consulting took a look at the Clean Power Plan, and it concluded that electricity rates would rise between 10 and 14%. And so that's obviously going to have a big impact on the poor, minorities, the elderly, and people on fixed incomes. They also estimated that this would result in $64 to $79 billion in losses to consumers. And, you know, when you think about the energy price advantage we have over other countries, we have to, you know, ask ourselves, is this really the road we want to go down? So I think it could have a very devastating impact on consumers and on businesses.
Okay, and then to follow that up, would U.S. jobs be lost if these electricity and natural gas prices increase for energy intensive trade-exposed manufacturers here in the United States?
Yeah, almost certainly they will be. Again, we have a tremendous energy advantage here, and we have to thank the oil and gas industry and the fracking revolution that's going on in this country.
Right.
And we have a completely different energy situation than they have in many parts of the world, and we need to protect that.
Okay, well, if our colleagues on the other side of the aisle were being told that these new green jobs are going to increase the incomes of a lot of extra people, would these green jobs be enough to offset the manufacturing jobs we're talking about losing from the recent U.S. promise at the Paris negotiations?
It's very difficult to say, but I will say this: when you look at the last 7 or so years since the recession, the one shining star in the U.S. economy has been the oil and gas sector,
right? And
that's because of fracking. From the end of 2007 to today, employment in that sector has increased by about 38, 39, 40%. Well, for the rest of the economy, it stayed pretty much flat. We're pretty much back where we were back in 2007. So the one shining spot here has been the oil and gas sector, and that's because of innovation, and that's because of the entrepreneurship of U.S. companies, many of which are small and mid-sized companies. So the shale revolution in the United States has been a great boon to our economy.
Okay, to even go further with what you just said, if you could elaborate on what the abundance of affordable natural gas via this hydraulic fracking means in terms of contributing to a cleaner environment. What can the fracking boom and the new technology, what does that mean for a cleaner environment and increased standards of living, both here in the United States and around the globe? There will be a positive impact in that regard as well.
Absolutely. And this is one thing I think that doesn't get enough attention in the international negotiations, to be perfectly honest with you. These people, these negotiators, they live in a bubble. I remember talking to a negotiator a couple of years ago, and I mentioned the fracking revolution, and I said, this is going to create headwinds for any sort of agreement. And he looked at me and he said, is this fracking thing for real? Yes, the fracking thing is for real. When people were talking about a few years ago peak oil, we're not talking about peak oil anymore. We have more oil than we know what to do with. We have more natural gas than we know what to do with. There are shale formations throughout the entire world. This is going to be a tremendous boom for economies, not just in the United States, but for those economies that can develop their shale resources. And so when I look at this, and then I look at the Paris Agreement, and I look at where people are actually putting their money. I mean, people talk green, but they're putting their green into shale, they're putting the green into oil, they're putting their green into natural gas, and they're putting their green into coal, because It's cheap, affordable, and scalable. So I think the shale revolution potentially is going to have a huge impact globally, maybe not in the next 5 years, but certainly beyond that.
I know it's had a huge impact on my state, the state of Texas.
And a very positive impact for not only for Texas, but for North Dakota and Pennsylvania and Ohio and Colorado and many other places.
Right. Thank you so very much. And my time's expired, Mr. Chairman.